People ask me, when did you first know you wanted to be a teacher? And I think the answer is when I discovered I couldn't be a preacher. My dad was a pastor, and so growing up, I wanted to be a pastor in the same way that he had a lawnmower, so I had a little toy lawnmower, and I would follow him around cutting the grass after him. And whenever I would get a chance to speak, you're a kid and you get to speak in Sunday school or something, people would say, boy, as a preacher, you're an excellent teacher. Now, sometimes they say as a teacher, I still end up preaching, but I realized that what I liked doing was helping people think about ideas and try to understand ideas, not so much tell them, this is the message that the Lord is giving you today. I'm on the other end of that. I'm trying to help people take the message that the Lord has given us today and understand it, learn how to work it into our lives. The other thing that happened to me is I had always had teaching modeled by everyone but my parents, who did teaching right, as a sage on a stage telling people what to think. And that wasn't very appealing to me. And so I thought, boy, I should be a preacher, because then I'm speaking the word of the Lord, at the very least, not my own word, and that will be less dangerous. But I met a guy named Al Geyer when I was at the University of Rochester. And Al taught me that teaching didn't consist of teaching people what to think nearly as much as, yes, I know it's an old trite thing, but still true, how to think, how to reason. Now, sometimes people don't like hearing that because they think, well, great, why am I paying you to teach me how to think? Aren't you supposed to know something? And yes, if we get to a book, I may know more than the students, and obviously I'm going to contribute that knowledge to the discussion. But any real teaching will consist of my learning about the book too, because I begin to speak the language of the students and talk to them. So when I sat with Al, Dr. Geyer, Professor Geyer, and he began to turn light bulbs all over the place in my head without really telling me what to think, when I began to make connections between Jesus and Plato that I thought were really there. Sometimes they weren't really there, but I thought were really there. I became excited about the idea of teaching. And then Hope and I sat on a hill overlooking a seminary in Rochester, and we said, someday we're going to have a house, St. Anne's, full of people that will sit around exploring ideas together the way Al has taught us to, but we're going to do it centered around the cause of Christ. I would like to think that the Saint Constantine School is a pure expression of that original vision that Hope and I had 31 years ago when we got engaged. So when did I decide I wanted to become a teacher? I decided it when I found out I couldn't be a preacher because I was too into explaining things. Second, when I discovered that explaining things could consist of helping people ask better questions, not speaking the word of John Mark. And third, when I discovered that it could take place in community with hope in a group of people all dedicated to the same purpose.